Hi, this is Sally and welcome to Reclaiming Pride, LGBT+ survivors of narcissistic abuse. Before we start, there is a trigger warning. The episodes of this podcast may at times refer to domestic violence, emotional, financial, and sexual abuse. To begin, as always, I'd like us to start with a one-word feelings check. That is, what's one word for how you are feeling right now? It's a centering exercise. And for people who have been in toxic, narcissistic, and abusive relationships, we tend to try and take care of other people before we take care of ourselves. So it's a centering exercise to get you just to think about how you are doing in this moment. So for people who've been listening for a while, you may have noticed that there's a new function in the Buzzsprout podcast app which enables you to leave me a message. They call it fan mail, but if you want to leave me any kind of message, if you have any feedback or any messages you'd like to leave me, that would be great. I have a couple of messages already, and I've only just started this, and I just want to give a shout out to the listener in New York who has looked at many articles, blogs and podcasts and says it's refreshing not to have to translate or code switch anymore as an LGBT plus person in a toxic relationship. So thank you so much for that. Just to let you know as well, I cannot actually text you back in that function, but I can indeed respond to you on the podcast. So that's what I'll be doing from now on. So this week, we're going to delve into the challenges posed by narcissistic individuals in professional settings. So we're going to be looking at the narcissist at work. These individuals possess a knack for manipulation and can create significant hurdles for those around them. I know that I was in a narcissistic relationship at home and also experiencing a narcissist at work as well at various points throughout my professional life while I was in that relationship too. So it was kind of, a double whammy, which unfortunately some of you may also have experienced. Now, I'm obviously not one of those people who throws the word narcissist around lightly. In fact, I have an episode coming up on folks who do that and the damage that can do. When I say narcissist, I mean somebody who's exhibiting 6 or more of the 9 DSM-5 traits of narcissistic personality disorder. So in the workplace, people with NPD or narcissistic personality disorder are acutely attuned to who receives recognition, opportunities, and decision-making power. These are the very domains that they actually crave themselves, and they've often achieved this without merit. Can you think of anyone who might fit that bill? So let's start off by looking at some scenarios. Have you ever found yourself in any of these situations? Do interactions with a particular colleague at work leave you emotionally drained or upset? Have doubts about your abilities or insecurity about your standing at work crept in? Are your performance expectations constantly shifting, leaving you frustrated? Do you sense a decline in self-care and health due to workplace stress? And have you experienced a mix of negative emotions like anxiety, shame, or powerlessness after interactions? And do you dread going into meetings or situations where you'll have to interact with this person? If any of that resonates with you, the chances are that you are in fact dealing with a narcissist or somebody with narcissistic traits in your workplace. Some of the indicators of such an individual can include feeling a subtle erosion of your credibility and competence, receiving minimal support or recognition for your contributions, public humiliation or passive-aggressive remarks made by this person, particularly in group settings, conflicting messages about your responsibilities and performance. Do they act differently with you in group settings than they do on a one-to-one basis? Hindered career growth due to unfair reviews or delays, and being made a scapegoat for mistakes or failures. Falling into a cycle of guilt or overcompensating to please the narcissist only worsens the situation. Now, obviously, this counts for both a work situation and an intimate situation as well. It's essential to remain vigilant and meticulously document interactions with this individual. Keep detailed records of tasks, progress, and decisions. And this can serve as a reality check if your experiences are questioned. So yes, keep them in a folder on your computer, keep them maybe on your phone, but keep a list and keep documentation of each and everything that happens with this person's behavior. If necessary, you might want to involve a trusted third party in discussions with the narcissist or insist on recorded communications to safeguard yourself. So, for example, what I mean is if this person is your boss, then have them record every one-on-one that you have, if you have it in Zoom or if you have it in person. You're going to need to tell the person that you are recording them. So let's dive a little deeper into the dynamics of dealing with a narcissistic boss or co-worker. Narcissistic bosses often wear different masks, charming higher-ups while exhibiting bullying behavior in private. So that when I say private, it could be small team meetings with their subordinates or a one-on-one with you. Distinguishing between a tough boss and a toxic one hinges on elements like fear, lack of empathy, and humiliation. Toxic leaders exhibit traits such as a lack of integrity, and a penchant for lying. But it won't be obvious lies. It will be ones that seem very believable on the surface, but you know that it's not true. Grandiose ambitions at the expense of other people, arrogance and fostering a culture of intimidation, disproportionate criticism and undermining of competitors or even their own colleagues and team members, surrounding themselves with enablers or what we call flying monkeys who aid in their abuse. Narcissistic behavior in the workplace is often enabled by organizational structures and reluctance to address toxic behavior or even admit that it's actually going on because the higher-ups might see that as a failure on their own part by allowing it to continue. Victims may hesitate to report abuse, fearing repercussion or disbelief from colleagues and superiors. Similarly, dealing with a narcissistic coworker can be challenging due to their manipulative tactics and regular contact. They may appropriate credit for your work, monitor your behavior, and sow discord among colleagues. Strategies for coping with someone like this, with this narcissist at work, include things like avoiding one-on-one meetings to prevent bullying tactics. If you can't avoid one-on-one meetings, let's say you have to have one-on-one meetings with this individual, they may be a colleague that you have to have one-on-ones with, they may even be your supervisor, then try and make sure that those one-on-ones are recorded. And again, you will need to let that person know that these things are being recorded. Documenting all interactions and communications meticulously. So that means you could just take notes afterwards. You could even follow up one-on-one meetings with an email and make sure you send that on company email. So for example, if the person has asked you to do something during a one-on-one with them, which maybe they didn't want to be recorded, then what you can do is just send a perfectly simple email afterwards, putting in writing what the person has asked you to do and noting that you will now proceed to do it. Make sure that you send this on company email, make sure that you don't text this, and make sure that you don't send it on personal email. You might want to refrain from engaging in arguments or defending yourself around this person, because if you've ever spent any time around a narcissist, you'll know that this would end up in a circular conversation. It will end up in abuse of yourself by way of a circular conversation, and also by way of the narcissist projecting their wrongdoings onto you. You might want to advocate yourself and highlight your contributions. Maintain boundaries and seek support outside of work, so friends that you trust. If you have mutual friends, probably not those people. Perhaps you have a counselor that you can talk to about this as well, who might be able to give you some good advice. Explore alternative career options if necessary. So keep your options open. Keep looking. Indeed.com, they have a lot of non-profit organizations. LinkedIn is always a great source for job recommendations. Manage your expectations is the key one, and focus on your own personal integrity. You cannot change anybody else but yourself, and a narcissist is somebody who's never going to take feedback anyway, so you're going to have to manage those expectations of this person. Remember, if you're dealing with a narcissist, this requires resilience and self-preservation. By recognizing their behavior and implementing effective strategies, you can mitigate their impact on your professional life. Whether they're a co-worker who's quite Machiavellian in their behavior and they're masterful at playing up to maybe your joint supervisor or supervisors at work and in the company, and all sorts of leaders and colleagues will start to support them, even though you know that they're really on the wrong side of history. It's not unusual to be completely blindsided by these people, in much the same way as you're blindsided after the love bombing stage with an intimate narcissistic partner. By the time this person makes their true intentions known, it's basically too late. You see, so it works the same way in a job situation as it does in an intimate relationship. So if you've ever been in an intimate situation with a narcissist, you're actually going to have a pretty good idea of what you're dealing with at work. Again, try and recognize these behaviors. Try some of the tips that I've listed earlier on, and you may want to, like I say, you may want to document, and you may want to end up going to human resources to discuss it in confidence with an HR representative at your company. Please note, this podcast is not intended to replace professional therapy or counseling. It serves as a supplementary resource for support and encouragement. Listeners, you are encouraged to seek professional help if needed. I did, and it still works for me today. Take care, and I look forward to healing with you again next time. Bye-bye.